And an hour later, she was dead. She was just gone. And we'd all this, there's a beautiful pool here. Eric was a swimmer. And he wrote a biography called Swimming Through Life. And every day he swam. And so as a gift one time, Nani built him a pool. And it was a special pool. And Helen was a fish. As everyone said, she just loved to swim. She was the first one in the pool. And we all got into the pool, one at a time, splashing, having fun. Again, great group, sober guys, nothing weird going on. And suddenly someone says, "Where's Helen?" And she wasn't there. It didn't work. It seemed like it just seemed so logical. Like, this is what you do. Then they cough, and their eyes flutter, and they say, "Oh my gosh!" And you hold them, and everything is okay. That's what happens. That's how the movies work. This is fantasy. We make fiction. We know how stories are told, and this is how this story goes. It was so clear in my head that that's how it ends, and it didn't end like that. And so it's not. The first kiss isn't usually after the death.
This medicine is turned into money.
Pesa! What's up, everybody, and welcome to Tuko Extra. Of course, you know who you're with, Lily Aisha here, and today, we're making big money. I've been having small money. Today we're making big money. I know you're wondering what I'm talking about. Let me just introduce you to the one and only Darren. Woo! I need to make my money small money to big money.
Okay.
Tuko pamoja?
Yeah, absolutely. I just send me your phone number, and
Okay.
I'll get back to you.
I like that.
To make that happen.
You know,
Yeah, I can arrange things. I know people.
That's what you like to hear when someone says, "I know someone who
Absolutely.
can do this."
Yeah.
Please say hi to your people. Tell them habari.
Habari, people. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us. Actually, we are here at your space. So thank you for having us. Now, of course, we met you through Kemikal. Mostly, we've known you from acting before, but we got to know you now majorly from Kemikal.
And this medicine is turned into money.
Pesa! So how did you get into this space here in Kenya?
Wow, that's a big question. I mean, the Kemikal space was very clear. It just Terrance called.
Yeah.
And so I didn't ask any questions. I just said, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll be there." And that's how it's worked for us for a long time.
For you and
Yeah,
Terrance?
he's done a lot of bits with me in the past. He'll just show up at my office and be talking, and then all of a sudden I'll notice he's holding a camera up like this, and he's asking me questions, and then a few hours later my phone is blowing up from likes and new followers and stuff because he's made a video.
Yeah.
And so he's done that to me many times. But for this one, he just said, "Come on out," and I said, "Okay." And then he said, "I think it's going to be big. We're going to do another one." I was like, "Okay, just whenever you call, I'll be there."
You are ready for this.
Yeah.
And definitely it's big. Millions of views. That's a big deal. So then, of course, we need to find out, how did you find yourself here in Kenya? Before you even met Terrance, how did you come to Kenya?
Wow. Well, I can tell you the story, I suppose. I was invited. That's the thing that was important to me. I was a career entertainer, and I used to teach puppetry, the art of puppetry, and then I worked for a company when I did that, and I traveled around the world. I went to 20 different countries and maybe 47 of the US states working for this company. And then I began my own performance art career. So I was a juggler and a puppeteer and a magician, and I did some stand-up comedy. And that was my full-time career for over 10 years, all throughout USA. You know? So here's how it all comes to Kenya. I was building a house on the side of a mountain in Venezuela out of trash.
Trash.
There's a type of housing where you actually take trash, old tires, old bottles, old stuff, and combine it with concrete, and you make a house. And we were building one for a widow, somewhere in was it even Venezuela? It wasn't. It was some other Guatemala. It was in Guatemala, and I went to a cyber cafe, and I got an email from my neighbor in Texas, and he said, "Dude, your renters have disappeared in the middle of the night, because I was renting out my house in order to make money. Building a house for a widow in the middle of nowhere doesn't make you any money.
Yeah.
But I was just trying to learn experimental techniques just because I was wandering and I was free, I guess. And anyway, that was bad. I was like, oh no, they've bailed on their rent. They haven't paid rent. I'm in Central America and I don't have any money. And that's not good. And so what I did was the weirdest thing. I just like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm far from home with no cash. So I made a little internet advertisement on what's called Craigslist that said, if you send me PayPal first and last month's rent, I'll tell you where my key is hidden. I need a new renter. And it was like, this is such a crazy thing. But I had all the pictures of my house online. Suddenly, I got like $2,000. And I was like, okay, the key is hidden in a box behind the fence under the log, like you go get it, you can stay in my house. I said, I'll see you when I get back to America. And so a month later, I come back to America and I knock on my own door, and there's a Kalenjin guy living in there with his wife and kids. And they're like, yeah, we're going to Bible school here. My wife wants to be a minister. And I was like, wow, why did you even like answer this advertisement? He goes, I know scams, dude. And that it's not how you write a scam. There's better ways to scam people. I could tell you are an honest guy. And so his name was Koski, K-O-S. Right? Koske, yeah, that was his last name. And so I said, cool, all right. And he goes, hey, what's with the puppets? I go, excuse me? He goes, your email address, it has puppets in it. And I go, oh yeah. So I described my background with puppetry. And he goes, man, I go to Nairobi like every month or so, or every 2 months. Why don't you come with me? I was like, oh, an invite. Because I had a perspective in my head that if I am going to do something that in another country, I am not going uninvited. I just don't like the idea of Westerners, white guys, dudes, mansplaining internationally. That's not the way to go.
Yeah.
But an invite is interesting to me. Like, oh, why don't you come out? I think you could do what you do over here. And so that's when it all sort of manifested, where I went, okay, what am I good at? What do I love to do? Of the things I love to do, I love teaching puppetry. Second of all, I know I'm actually very good at it because that was my trade. But what would you teach? Well, what affects the most people? The question was, what's the best thing that puppets would be doing? Like if puppets are good at talking about uncomfortable subjects, what is one of the most uncomfortable subjects? Sexually transmitted disease. Well, what affects the most amount of people? HIV and AIDS probably has, it really damages, it's hard for people to deal with it. And then where would you have to go? Well, it's sub-Saharan Africa, but I don't know where. It's certainly not necessarily Nairobi, but I got that invite and I was like, that checks all the boxes. I've been invited. I'm going. So I went to Nairobi, and that's how I ended up here. But right away, I knew I needed to meet people who were funny, because humor is an absolute important element to any sort of education, in my opinion. If you want to teach people, you do it fun. I was fortunate. I don't know about you guys, but like I had high school teachers who would like jump up on the desks while they're teaching, history. They do like the movies. I had English teachers who were like professors working with kids who were passionate about language. They taught us to love learning. And if you want to teach a kid, you don't teach them, you just teach them to love learning, and then they'll teach themselves. And so for me, finding humorous people was important. And I met Terrance right away.
Right away?
Yeah. I had went to the National Theater, and they said there was some stand-up somewhere at the Hilton, I think, that one night. And so I went to the Hilton, and they wanted to use a white guy for a sketch, and so they grabbed me, and then Terrance saw me. He said, hey, we could work together. He saw that I did magic, and so we started going. This is when we were working for Fred Amundi.
Oh, okay.
And so Fred was taking us around to all these little clubs, and we were just like working like Tribeca at like 2 o'clock in the morning, just trying to make 1,000 bob. But for me, it was like, I need to learn about a culture before I do anything. I'm not going to do anything until I get to know you guys. Yeah. It's just a weird thing when guys come in and like, I know what I'm doing, let me just teach you. I don't like that. But being involved and like hanging out in the CBD until 3 o'clock in the morning, that's not what everybody does.
How this is done.
Yeah, let's see how this is done. And so that was cool. And then I got a job with a promotions company because I knew a puppet show that taught things would have to go on the move. And so I needed to learn just the rates, how much does it cost to send a group of people, but promotions teams do that, all those guys who do like activations, they go from place to place to place, they have to pay all those bills that accrue, they have to set up, tear down every day and get out. That's a good education for me to learn an educational tour. And I found a group of puppeteers behind the National Theater who were working on puppetry on their own, and they had just toys and blankets. They didn't have anything professional. And I said, guys, I will teach you anything you want to know, anything. We'll go for it if at the end of my stay here, you let me do one HIV and AIDS prevention concept show. And so we did that. And so I actually lived in Pangani for a long time. I lived in Kesarian for about a month. When I first showed up, I did a puppetry workshop. It was probably about the same week I met Terrance. And this woman was there at a church who wanted to learn puppetry. And she said, why don't you come have tea with me and my family? And so I went, and it was this family of ladies. One was a widow and her sister and their daughters and their cousins, 7 ladies.
In
and
one
they
house?
In one house in Kesarian.
Oh, okay.
And they said, Darren, you can stay with us if you want. And the interesting thing is my host disappeared. The guy who brought me to Nairobi, within 6 days, he was gone.
Kosgei, that's Kosgei, yeah?
Yeah, he's a cool guy. But at the time, something was going on personally in his life, and he just couldn't be hanging out with a foreigner. It wasn't going to work for him.
Okay.
And so he gave me the keys to the car and said, you pay rent, here's M-Pesa, here's how it works. So I had a car, I knew how to use M-Pesa, and I was alone in Nairobi in 2012. Yeah. It was pretty intense.
That's a lot. What? Alone?
Alone, completely alone. And so I just had to figure it out. But this woman and her family said, well, come live with us. And I was like, really? Oh, okay. And so for a month, I lived in Kesarian. I would commute to the National Theater every day.
That's fun.
And they would make meals for me, and they would press my shirts, and because I told them what I was trying to do, and they said, go for it, Darren, you can, this sounds great, you know. And these ladies I'd come home late at night after making the trek back from the CBD, and there would be like a hot pot sitting out in the kitchen, you know, no electricity, no running water in the little house, but they were just cool to me and just supported me. And I was hardly there, but you know, Aunt Jen and Mum Leah, they took care of me out there. And then eventually the neighbor got murdered over a small amount of money, and they were like, this may not be where you want to be right now. You should probably go. So I lived in Pangani for the rest of the year.
Terrance took you there?
Terrance lived there.
Yeah,
coincidentally.
he lived
I
there.
didn't know he lived there at the time. But it was, that's where I was sort of based for a long time. But anyway, from there, I got to know comedy better. And so when it came time, I left Nairobi going, this could work. This could really work, but it's going to take some money. It's going to take some time.
How long did you stay here before you left?
In 2012, I was supposed to come for 3 weeks, and I stayed for 6 months.
It's Kenya for you.
Right?
It's
Kenya kind of interesting. People who come here, expatriates and stuff, I even talked to the ambassador one time, the American ambassador, and he says, yeah, we all have the same story. We come to East Africa, and we feel comfortable. There's something about it that feels really familiar. I'm sure it's because it's the cradle of mankind. All humans probably come from East Africa. At least coffee does, and that's pretty cool. I love coffee. But no, the idea that we feel comfortable here. Also, Nairobi weather is like the best. Like I physically feel better, aside from the foot. I physically feel better here than anywhere else in the world. I think it's the combination of the elevation and the weather and everything else. I just feel vibrant and I feel alive. It's cool.
It's interesting. You people would say that, but us guys, we wake up and you're like, the sun is too hot today, or it's too cold today.
That's so true. I tell everyone I go back home, they go, what's it like there? I go, it's cool. Nairobians have the narrowest band of comfort of anyone I've ever met in the entire world. If it gets this temperature, like, it's too hot. Temperature, it's too cold. I'm like, are you kidding?
It's too windy.
It's all wonderful. but yeah, you guys, but I'm getting that way. I'm getting more picky about the weather.
Now that you're Kenyan,
now that I'm
you're
Kenyan,
more Kenyan.
It is a little chilly, I think. But yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting.
It's a long story, I know, but yeah.
But it's very interesting how you actually got here. So when you came here, other than living in Kesarian, you went to Pangani, and then after that, you left.
I went back home. I went back to USA because I knew in order to do a puppet program about HIV and AIDS, I need to have my act together. Like that was just a fact-finding mission, and I did. I found facts. I interviewed doctors. I interviewed therapists. I interviewed children born with HIV. I interviewed parents. I interviewed church members from different kinds of churches and stuff to get everyone's perspective. Because I thought, if we're going to do the education, I need more than just comedians. I also need to know the facts and how people feel about the subject. And then in Dallas, I knew I needed to go back there because I could talk to the doctors there and talk to the hospitals and just as someone who develops edutainment, I mean the research is vital.
Very important. Yeah.
And I don't need an educational degree to learn.
Just listen.
Listen to stories. I think listening is the first step. So I went back to USA.
Then you came back again.
But I did come back again.
You went and stayed for how long?
In America?
Yeah, because now you've left. That's 2012.
That's 2012. Yeah, I left. So I went back to America and I immediately went to work. I said, I have to be very official. This has to be done well. I can't, So I started a nonprofit, which was a total difference, for me being a performer. Like I'm used to telling jokes and doing this sort of thing. Now I got to do paperwork, a lot of government paperwork. I need to focus and be a student of getting official things done. That was hard for me. That was very hard. But I had help. I had a lot of help. I always had help. And I was thinking, well, I need money too. It's going to take a lot of fundraising.
Yeah.
I come from a blue-collar family, which makes me feel extra lonely in Kenya, because every other foreigner that I meet, they're like academics, or they're government guys, or they're investors, or whatever. They're all like what you'd call white-collar. They're guys who are like business guys or educated guys. My dad was a mill worker. When I hang out at some of the pubs here and they say, oh, what's your family about? It's like, oh, my dad, worked in a paper mill. Oh, he owned a paper mill? No, he didn't own a paper mill. He worked on the line. He was wrapping rolls of paper. Like he was a factory guy working shift work. Before that, he was a gold miner. Oh, do you own a gold mine? No. He had a djembe and he was doing this. Like that's our background. We're worker guys. That's my background. So to do all this sort of stuff was huge. But I was a partner in a puppetry company. I owned a puppetry company that made professional puppets.
But this is at home.
At home.
Yeah.
And so when I went back to do fundraising, I got this really interesting piece of advice, and it's actually kind of cool advice for anyone. My big brother runs a charity. He's a director of a fairly mid-sized charity, and my other brother also runs a charity, very different. One protects animals. He had a wolf sanctuary of wolves. Ooh. Yeah, and the other one, my other brother, is an ex-convict who was in prison for a long, you've heard the jokes. He was in prison for a long time, but when he got out of prison, he reformed and he married also an ex-convict. And together, they help convicts leaving prison re-enter into the workforce. Oh, they run a rehab for guys. Yeah, so he works with his former warden, So I got really cool older brothers. They're really good guys. And so I looked up to them, like, how do you run a charity? And one thing they both said was, you need to go visit Rotary. Do you know what Rotary is?
Yeah, we have it, yeah.
Yeah, you do. You have a lot of Rotary clubs here.
Yeah.
And I said, what's the deal? He goes, well, Rotary are usually professionals at the high end of society who have formed a club, and they tend to help out charities.
Help people, yeah.
They help people. And so I went and did a presentation just south of Dallas in DeSoto to my local Rotary Club near the puppet factory that I had was a partner with. And I gave a presentation. I said, I just went to Kenya, and here's what I did. And my Rotary is pretty small, the Rotary Club I went to, and maybe 30 guys and gals. And they said, wow, this is really interesting. You want to use puppets. You have a factory right over there? I go, yeah, it's behind the fire station. They said, okay. These are like the former mayor, the police chief, the fire chief. These are guys, a cabinet maker who runs a big company, guys on the school board. And they said, we like what you're talking about, and we'd like to help you. But you know what? We think you should be a member. And I was like, a member? I'm not like you guys. Like, well, technically you own a company. And I was like, well, it's puppets. Like, I'm not,
It's still a company.
Yeah, they go, but you're a professional. I go, yeah, okay. And so they invited me, because it's sort of an invite-only thing. And they were a cool organization. And I said, but what's it all about? They said, we have 4 key ethics. And it's basically what you do is you ask yourself, no matter what you say or think or do, you ask yourself 4 questions. Is it true? Will it be, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to everyone concerned? So with all 4 of those things, if you can answer yes to all 4 of those questions, you say it, you do it, you go for it. But it's got to be true, it's got to be fair, it's got to, And so that was like, oh, well, that's cool. That's easy. And yeah, if you do that, you're going to treat people with dignity and respect and kindness. And I think that was important to what I was doing. And they got behind me, and I started doing presentations at more and more clubs. And over the course of about 2 years, I managed to raise enough seed money to get like $127,000 global grant from the international headquarters in Chicago. It took a lot of work. It was a lot of work, but that's what it required to do all the things necessary to set up a really high quality show, a puppet show that would teach from the perspective of all the people that I interviewed, all these different things to different age groups, and it could put us into hundreds of schools all around Kajiado and Nairobi County. And so I came back in 2015, June, and said, I got it, guys. You know, I had a crew of puppeteers that I've been in contact with, those guys that I originally trained behind the National Theater.
Oh, the National Theater.
Yeah, it was Jeff Aganda and Helen and Esther and Kalatse Vitze, who's now running for MCA somewhere, and Zimmy and Rude Boy and I'm missing one of the guys' name. He's an acrobat. I'm sorry, dude. But all these guys, when I had worked with them, I got to come back and say, I got it. I'm ready to go. And so also something special happened. I found out that there's another person in Rotary in the world who has exactly the same vision as I do. And he was the former past president of the Rotary Club of Nairobi. In order to do something with Rotary, you have to have a connection locally. You don't get to just show up and do something. You have to have a local invitation. So again, I was invited. There was a man named Dr. Eric Cristal, who was the past president of the Rotary Club of Nairobi. They meet at the Laiko Regency. And he was just about to retire. At the time, he was like 88 years old, I think, in 2015. Yeah. And he said, I'm retiring. I'm too old for this.
Done.
You know, yeah. And he saw my paperwork. It came to his desk. And he goes, no, let me do one more thing before I retire. Because Dr. Eric Cristal brought puppets to East Africa in 1994. There was no tradition of this puppetry thing here in Kenya. And so I thought, in Rotary, the staunchy organization that has almost no artists in it, there's another one like me, except he's got a completely different background, and he wanted to work with me. And he said, Darren, you can come out and live with us if you want to. Me and the peacock. So anyway, Nani and Eric invited me to come out and live with them and start this program. And so I actually got to move out here, as another invite from someone who had a similar background. And so we launched in June of 2015 with a partner who has an amazing story behind him and has the same vision as I did, who was able to mentor me. Yeah, that was really cool.
Okay, so when you came back in 2015,
yeah,
you came back with a vision of still doing puppetry and
Absolutely.
HIV/AIDS, of course. Then how did you find yourself then moving to the side of comedy? Okay, other than puppetry, there's this other side. Like we've seen you on stage, we've seen you in series, and most series are actually comedy series.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is I kept in touch. Well, that was the other key. That's the connection. Is that when I made all these programs to come here, I said I can't let myself be the writer. Like, even though I did all the research, I had an American guy who created great edutainment for the American government. He wrote all the scripts based on my research, and then I took all the scripts for the HIV show and sent them to Hollywood. And a friend of mine who's the writer of the Minions movie, you know, the little yellow guys, and The Secret Life of Pets.
Okay.
He's a really good Hollywood writer. I said, you make it funny, make it really, really funny. So I gave the scripts to him and he made it really, really funny. And then I said, well, but it still has to be done in Kenya. And so I sent them to Terrance. I said, Terrance, now you make it work in this context for here.
Yeah.
And so he did that. And so that was the first time since we had worked together with Fred that I was able to work with him. So I called him and he helped that. And so I've always stayed in touch with Terrance.
Okay, many guys are lifelong friends. We wouldn't even know that.
Yeah, right?
We just thought, oh, this guy Terrance just bumped into him and he's like, come here.
Yeah, but that was so important to me because if you're going to talk about a difficult subject, it needs to be local and it needs to be great.
Yeah, it needs to be understood by people,
And he's
pretty
great.
good at he is, because he knows it all. He actually knows the laws. People uku chini in English is down here and up there.
Yeah,
it's
totally true. That's the really fun thing for me too, is I don't know a lot of other dudes from America who also have hung out on Moy Avenue at 1 a.m. you know, and also been in the upper echelons of like where Rotary, where it's, you know, it's the main, you know, there's guys who own banks, you know, that I have lunch with, and so I'm in all sort of strata.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I live out in the country, but I commute to the city. You know, I go through Kibera every day. So like my view of what Kenya is I believe. Yeah.
From low to high.
Multi-layered.
Which is very important to understand the whole thing. For you actually to create content that people would enjoy, you have to scoop everyone from the lowest to the highest, which is very nice. I like that.
It could be better. I mean, my Swahili is terrible, and I think that's my biggest failure in my life. Honestly, in my entire life, my biggest failure is not knowing Swahili.
But eventually you will.
I'll get it.
You will get it.
It's hard for me. I don't know why. My brain's not smart in that way.
You'll get it eventually.
Yeah.
So then you've come here. When you came to here, you said you were living with Noni.
Yeah,
when you
Noni
came,
and Eric. Yeah.
And Eric, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. You've now found someone. I mean, you've been in Kenya for those years. You don't have, because I'm here with you, Darren, and I'm not seeing a babe.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing a boo thing.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, well, that part's a little tricky, and I think maybe people could hear, I suppose. Mm-hmm. But when I went back to the USA, I kept in touch with the puppeteers. Mm-hmm. And there was one particular young lady, her name was Helen, that I kept in touch with. And she was different than the rest of the crew. Like, we were all artists, obviously, you know, being silly and doing the art form back in 2012 when I was here. But she was different. She was like the matriarch of the group. She wouldn't let lies go past. She wouldn't let messing around go past her. She was strict in the sense of like, let's do it right. And she was like the mama hen to everybody. You know, she just, you know, we're all the same age, but she was great. She was really great.
In short, she was great.
Yeah, she was great. And so we kept in touch. And I remember being back at home. Christmas was my favorite time of the year. And I'm always back with my folks at Christmas time. And I remember being back at home at Christmas, and I walked outside and the snow was falling, and I said, I don't want another year to go by that I come home without someone special. And all I could think about was Helen. I'm like, man, she's just so top notch. You know, she's just, we never had anything romantic whatsoever, but I just knew, like,
it's the one I want.
Yeah, she's a special lady. I believe she was from Kisii. And yeah, she was just the greatest. She was great. And so when we kept in touch with WhatsApp, basically, just a little, nothing. We never spoke about attraction or anything, but it was obviously that we were sweet on each other.
Yeah.
We never spoke about it. And then when I got back here, I got the whole gang together. I'm like, guys, I got the money from Rotary. I got everything laid out. I got the equipment, like all the stuff we ever dreamed about having. Like it's ready to go. Terrance has finished the scripts. We're ready to start recording. We're going to get out on the road. Here's the schedule. And everyone's like, so what do we do? And I was like, tell you what, let's have a meeting. Everyone come out here. We're gonna, I'll tell you all about the details and everything. And then it was like a Thursday, I think it was, and everyone was late. I was like, oh my gosh, everyone was late. So I was like, okay, we're gonna have to stay in the cottages. We'll do the meeting tomorrow. And so that day, we all had dinner together, but it was like, we can't talk about the program. There's just not enough time. We'll do it in the morning. And so we're a good group, good sober group. We were all, just hanging out, having dinner, And I remember Helen. She said, I'm really, really tired. And I said, well, you should just, go to sleep. I mean, you don't have to stay up. She goes, yeah, it's been a long day at school. She was finishing up her banking degree or something. Oh, okay. And then when she went, and I remember she said to me, I went and checked on her or something, and she goes, Darren, I'm really cold. And I was like, okay, I'll get you something, And so and that was interesting, but it was unusual because she was really shaking. And so the next morning, everyone got up. We're all doing things, and we had some time. I said, guys, let's just meet before lunch, but hang out and check out this cool place. This is a great place. Just check it out. So I went with a walk with her. And it was nice. It was the first time her and I had connected in two years personally. Was that morning, and we just walked around the property and talked and. And we went down by the overlook of the gorge down there, and she said, Darren, guess what? And I was like, what? She goes, I talked to my parents. I go, about? She goes, I told them I'm not going to be a banker. I was like, I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry, Dad.
It's not what I want to
do. I'll finish school, you know, but I'm an artist, and I'm going to do this thing. And Darren and the rest of the crew, we're going to teach people about HIV and AIDS. It's been affecting our community. This is what I want to do. And I actually told them that. I was like, wow, that's amazing. Like, that's not easy.
Bold.
I don't know a lot of Kenyans who can talk to their parents that boldly, but she was that bold person, you know. And so we just had the greatest day that morning. We just walked and talked, you know, and just talked about business, life, and that sort of thing. It was great. And mind you, this is the first day the crew was together. We went and had lunch. The lady up here at the top of the property, Mama Mutiso, she makes food. And we bought food for everybody, and we all had lunch. And Jeff was her best friend, my first friend in Kenya. And he came to me and said, you know, Helen told me. She goes, that Darren guy, something. And an hour later, she was dead. She was just gone. And we'd all this. There's a beautiful pool here. Eric was a swimmer, and he wrote a biography called Swimming Through Life. And every day he swam. And so, as a gift one time, Nani built him a pool, and it was a special pool. And Helen was a fish. As everyone said, she just loved to swim. She was the first one in the pool, and we all got into the pool one at a time, splashing, having fun. Again, great group, sober guys, nothing weird going on. And suddenly, someone says, "Where's Helen?" And she wasn't there. And she, we thought, well, she couldn't be gone. Maybe she went to the toilet or something. You know, we just didn't notice. And so we all sort of spread out. We just didn't see. And then I heard someone shouting, "Help, help!" And it wasn't Helen. It was my business partner, Galen, and she was pulling Helen's body out of the pool. And I see her there, and to me, it's just like, well, this is obvious. I know how this is done. We've all seen this before. Every Hollywood actor, male actor you've ever seen in your life has accomplished this task. All we have to do is CPR, and everything will be better. And so I set myself to work, and it didn't work. It didn't work. It seemed like it just seemed so logical. Like, this is what you do. Then they cough, and their eyes flutter, and they say, "Oh my gosh!" And you hold them, and everything is okay. That's what happens. That's how the movies work. This is fantasy. We make fiction. We know how stories are told, and this is how this story goes. It was so clear in my head that that's how it ends, and it didn't end like that. And so, yeah, I mean, I've talked to other men, and, you know, the other men have been through this before, but it's not, the first kiss isn't usually after the death. And so I think that's impacted my life. And you know, all the things occur where it's just like everything turns orange and goes tunnel vision. And, you know, I'm shouting. You know, there's this thing, same thing as when I broke my ankle. It's just like I spend so much time at a keyboard. You're like, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, undo, 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 undo. This can be reversed. This can be reversed. Quick, quick, quick. Make it go backwards. And that's not how reality works. It's just how computers work. And so, and then over the course of the day, I'm just like, am I going to hate this? Am I going to hate every single aspect of this? This vision that I've had since the meeting with Kosambwe, since my mentor's death, since all these things, all these came together. Finally, the vision's here, and it's just a puppet show. I know it's not a huge deal. It's not like life-changing or whatever. It's not the universe, but for me it was.
Yeah.
And I just thought, no, I don't want to hate this. I don't want this all. I don't want to just hate everything. And slowly by slowly, I had to meet her family and have them come over and do a memorial, explain it all to them, have a memorial for their friends and family, you know, at her home property, and I had to do I just started helping everybody else, but it was so bad for us that we all had trauma. It was really interesting. Some guys were calling her name on movie sets, just like Helen, and there was many of us were just breaking down into tears. And I remember someone on staff here came over and just grabbed me and said, be strong, and I was like, what are you talking about? Be strong. Someone just died. Like, that's, you don't pretend you're okay. That's how people get unhealthy in the long term, is pretending everything is okay. No, I'm going to scream, I'm going to cry, I'm going to do all those things because that's how I feel. Yeah. And I know enough to do that. But in that context, though, it's like, what's going to happen? So I got therapists for some guys, and I just tried to best to be like the leader, and we had our own special ceremony for her, and we did all these things. But it's still in the back of my mind, and like, this sucks. Why am I here? Why am I in a foreign country experiencing this terrible thing? Like this, it happens in movies, not in real life. But we all sort of talked a couple weeks later, and I said, Helen, we know what she would say. She'd be like, do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, well, that's clear. That's actually very clear. There's no imagination required there. Like, Helen would be like, no, don't stop. And so we kept going. And so we went to the National Theater, we got the voice actors, we did the auditions. The auditions were the hardest because I had to also hire other people. And during the auditions, people were coming to me with, and I was meeting some experienced puppeteers. This was a really difficult thing, is that there was other puppeteers in the country who I didn't know. And they felt I think they felt really slighted by my actions because I didn't hire all of them. I couldn't. I had a mandate to hire a certain amount of people. Yeah, some people. So, but during the auditions, when these guys are coming up, guys I really wish I knew well, people were coming to me with what's it called when you put the notice in the newspaper about a death? Obituary. Obituary. Yeah. People come to me to finish the obituary while I'm trying to audition other people with her. Like, we do want this picture or this picture, because it had to be done by a certain time. Yeah. So. That made it really, really hard because they're trying to come to me with all these details. And there's something else you're doing. When there's something else I'm trying to do the project. And so that affected the life quite a bit. And I think that sort of set the tone in a sense. I don't know, you're asking about relationships. So it's now been 6 years, and now I love that swimming pool. It was Eric's pool, and she loved to swim there. And it took me 4 years, but now I jump right in. It took me 4 years to go in that pool, yeah, for sure. Because Eric passed away last year as well. And just before he passed away, I started swimming, just because I knew it was his thing. And I never liked it. I never liked swimming at all. But now I do. And I like it because I feel like that's a way. I don't want a negative thing. I don't want a negative thing to hold any power over me. I'm going to take it away. No. Okay, that's where all the bad things happen. That's where my mentor used to love, and he's passed away. That's where Helen went away. No. I'm going to take care of that pool. I'm the one who buys the chemicals for it. I'm the one who checks the levels. I'm the one. I go over to the neighbor's house here, and I take care of the pool. And now it's a little piece of me that's important. It's a piece of you. Yeah.
So this is the pool?
Yeah. Yeah, this is, and I think it's important, Lily, for people to know, maybe if something good could come of tragedy, it's that when I talked to the doctor after Helen passed, he said either she knew or she didn't know, but she had at least an undiagnosed condition of a bleeding cyst on her ovaries. And he said that would have led to an anemic condition. That would explain why she was so cold before. Yeah, and so I think what happened is something happened and her blood oxygen levels dropped so quickly. But, even part of what we do with the puppets is talking about sexual reproductive health. And so that's something that everyone should check on, That's for ladies, men have their own set of issues, but to be aware of your sexual reproductive health could have maybe prevented such a thing,
that's true. So sorry for that.
Yeah, we miss her, but it doesn't change the fact that we are inspired, and we will honor her. We're doing great work. We'll win more awards. Yeah, we'll do great stuff.
Yeah. What you started with her.
And through that, you meet these comedians, and they're great. And I think they all come from a place of, I think we all have a little bit of trauma that goes on in our lives.
Yeah.
But that trauma allows us to look at life and examine it, and hopefully we may turn something good, make something good out of it. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah. You've seen the comedy shows that we've done at...
yeah, I was actually going to ask you how you found yourself into that space of the comedy club on stage.
I have been writing a lot of children's stuff. I just today got nominated by the Kalasha Awards. The Kenya Film Commission nominated us as Best Children's Entertainment Video.
That's a really big one.
Yeah.
Good job.
And so that's really cool. But because I do so much writing for kids, I was like, I need an adult outlet. I need to do
talk
things
to my people.
Yeah, I need my people too, because it's not all fun and games all the time. I really enjoy producing stuff, educational stuff for kids. That's a huge passion, and that will always be part of it. So my crew at Puppets 254, they are the ones who, it says the award is for Darren Collins, but it's really for Zimmy and Esther and Veronica and Chalo and Victor and Shuli and Bob and Dennis and all the guys and Michael Mutahi as well. They're the ones who really are doing the work, I suppose. I'm just helping out. But in that context, like, it's time to do some adult stuff. So I went to a show with Stand Up Collective. Doug Mutai runs that show, and he's hilarious. And then he introduced me to Eric Lucivali, who does Nairobi Punchline Nairobi. At Two Grapes in Kilimani. And I was like, this is really cool. I used to do this years ago. Let me do it again. And so I've been doing stand-up shows with those guys. And they're really different than Terrance. Terrance and his crew with Jalango and Fred and Churchill, they have sort of a different style of comedy, which is totally cool. But these guys over here at Stand Up Collective and Punchline,
it's different.
Yeah, they're doing real modern, sort of and global, personal. Real personal stuff.
Jokes.
It's heavy. It's not for kids. Don't bring the kids. It's for adults for sure. But it's real hard hitting, and some of it really comes from a place of difficulty, and that's where I kind of, because you'll hear them say really
deep things.
There
are guys who talk about daddy issues, and I'm like, okay.
Pain. Now, I'm not doing any jokes about pain per se, and I keep it pretty clean. But yeah, that's a nice outlet because you can really say what's on your brain.
That's as it should be. I think stand-up should be a space where you just air out these things you want to tell your friend.
Right.
Just go and talk about it there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now, before we just finish everything else, how has it been with you working with this Kemikal thing, the Washrush thing? How do you feel? Do you feel like Kenyans have accepted you? Like, how is the whole experience?
Yeah, it's crazy because I ride matatus and pikipikis, and I walk, and I see a lot of Nairobi. And as I do, for the last 6 years, it's always been Mlami, Zungu, Droge, Kamau, John. And now it's like Kemikal. And it's like, so it's the same amount of attention. Like, there's still people shouting stuff at me, but now it's cool. Like, business legit. Yeah, it's like a happy thing as opposed to like, you're different. And now it's like, you're one of us or something. I don't know. It's great though. Yeah.
Okay. So do you plan to settle here in Kenya, or would you go back home, or is this like, I'm home?
I traveled constantly until I came here. I got to the point where I had itchy feet after 3 days. Like, I've been in thousands of hotel rooms all around. And when I got here, it was weird. The urge to travel just went away. I was like, it's like an old suit just kind of dripped off. And I was like, what? I'm here. I feel, if you'll allow me, I will stay.
We'll allow you.
If you keep inviting me, I will stay.
Keep giving us interesting content. Yeah. I did not ask you what happened to your leg. I'm seeing how uncomfortable it is. So there was this blind orphan girl, and she was being attacked by a lion.
And I was like, no lion, and I grabbed the lion, and I stopped it, and the girl got away, and I'm a hero, essentially.
Oh,
Yeah,
now Kenyans will love you more. You saved a
No,
girl from a lion?
I fell off the stage after a comedy set. I was stone sober too. I just like bloop, and now I got this. I'm pretty low key on stage. You've seen me. I just sort of hold the mic. Well, one day it was at the Mayura in Kenrail Towers. We did that on Thursdays in Westlands, and I got the lineup wrong. I was outside eating an apple, and someone that's called my name. I was like, oh no, I'm late on stage. So I ran on stage, and I was like, I'm never high energy. Let me keep it. And I told all my jokes with high energy for the first time, and it went really well. I was like, wow, I've never done that. Never really had lots of energy. So on the way off stage, I was like, da-da-da, I'm going to just have energy on the way down the stage too. Yeah, and I fell right on my face in front of everyone.
Oh
and
my God.
It's an old injury because I busted my ankle jumping over the fence at Nyayo Stadium 5 years ago.
Really? You really seem to enjoy this adventure.
I do. I do. I'm immature. I take lots of things very seriously, but if I don't need to take it seriously, like a fence,
I mean, why not jump over?
Why not jump over? I'm young and agile, and one day I was wearing dress shoes and it was raining, and so I re-injured that old injury.
Okay, I'm really
but I like the lion story better.
I feel like that's what would put. The other one, they don't really have to know.
I'm a hero.
Yeah,
you
saved
I'm not an idiot.
A blind orphan.
Yeah, right?
You did it.
Yeah, poor kid.
All right, finally, what do you have to tell your Kenyan fans?
Okay.
What should we expect from you?
This is the most important thing ever. What I'm really here to do is do health education for kids. That's what I want to do. That's what I am doing. When COVID hit, I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to. So we made video, and my first video won a Kalasha Award. I was not ever interested in doing video, but I got such a talented, dedicated crew at Puppets 254 that we did a great job. And we've continued to make stuff. We got it in 9 languages now.
Oh, wow. That's
with vernacular language. If you want to send like COVID information back to the village, to friends with YouTube, you can go to Puppets 254 and you can see really humorous, light touch education about tough subjects with the puppets. But we also do birthday parties, and I have the guys working in shopping centers, and because I taught them how to do magic, I taught the guys how to do puppetry and juggling and all kinds of fun stuff. So we do real high quality stuff, but there's not enough work, so we also do entertainment. So if guys want us, if any of my fans want to see great kids stuff, absolutely go to Puppets 254, puppets.co.ke is the website. You can learn about all that, and we also take school trips. Like here, at my neighbors here at Nani's Kitengela Glass, we bring whole schools here and teach them all kinds of great stuff with my performers when they're not on the road. So it's real good. And that's what I wish my fans would see. Second, to say my fans is ridiculous.
You have fans.
I don't have fans.
I'm telling you, you have
Terrance
fans.
has fans. Terrance is a genius, and he deserves everything he gets. I'm just an accessory. But if they must, definitely check out Stand Up Collective on Instagram and check out Punchline Comedy, because those guys are doing really cool stuff, and I'm honored that they've accepted me as well. That's a great place to see live comedy.
Yeah.
But if you want something for your kids, check out Puppets 254. I wish we had subscribers, because we're going to make a lot more content for sure.
You'll get subscribers. I mean, it's something that you're just starting, so I mean, you will all get a hang of it.
I feel like it's 6 years of just starting.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
There's a light. There's always that light at the end of everything.
Well, we love it. I mean, it's definitely, I'm living my best life here for sure. And I'm glad that there's people are like me now, because I've always felt like a foreigner. Like I don't belong here. Every once in a while, someone will just shout, like, "Go back to your country." I'm like, "Oh, but I'm happy here. I'm happy. Like, I'm sorry. I'm a weird visitor." But now people shout nice things,
Which it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's cool. Even though Terrance and I play con artists, people love us.
It's because it's a reality. We can really relate to that. So thank you so much, Darren. This has been such an amazing interview. We've gotten to know so much more about you other than just seeing you actually conning people. That's the end of it. At the end of it, you were conning people, but it's just for laughs, guys. But I really did enjoy this. I appreciate you giving us your space and your time. And yeah, guys, this has been Darren, man. You know so much now about him. Go ahead, subscribe to his channel. He's talked about Puppet 254, his Instagram handle.
Darren Around the World on Instagram is perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
And YouTube?
Yeah, Puppets 254.
Puppets 254.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Then you know where to find him, guys. It's been real. It's been very, very real. Until next time, it's Lily Aisha. Bye.
Thank you, Lily.